I think the 4/3 segment is really worth paying attention to. But I feel like with these features happening on this device, we can very reasonably expect deeper color depth and greater bit depth on the A7S III. Hey friends, in this video I want to talk about the hopefully upcoming GH5 firmware update. So while it's rumored that the second firmware update for the GH5 is to be announced and released here at the end of August, I think, on the one hand that makes a lot of sense. It's between the AU EVA1's release and the EVA1's firmware release to allow 5.7K raw output. Now, I think that at 10-bit and all that. Now, I think that we should expect to wait a little bit, but this firmware update is a big deal, right? Because it puts 400 megabits per second, 4K 10-bit 422 onto essentially a mirrorless camera, a DSLR size, but still mirrorless camera. It's the first non-cine camera that's gonna have 4K 10-bit 422. I think that's kind of a big deal. The other really big deal though is that you already get a better bit rate on your full HD 10-bit 422 at 150 megabits a second, but or 100 megabits a second, I can't remember, but anyway, you're gonna be able to get it at 200 megabits a second with this firmware update as well. I think in the current market though, the GH5, even if there are updates to stabilization, updates to whatever else, those are cool, right? But it's this core feature of 10-bit 422 that not only can match the EVA1, which is fantastic, but also match cinema cameras. And with lenses built for equivalence, like Micro Four Thirds has, I can't help but feel like the Micro Four Thirds format is gonna start waking up some sleeping giants. Even some innovators like Sony. I feel like Sony's gonna have to pay a lot of attention to the Micro Four Thirds segment, because that's where a lot of their business is going, a lot of their potential business, a lot of their actual business. Now, there's a lot of people that are also saying, well, the GH5, it's really cool, but I can't deal with this small of a sensor, and they're going the other way. But I feel like with these features happening on this device, we can very reasonably expect deeper color depth and greater bit depth on the A7S III. I feel like we can expect that potentially even on the A7 III and A7R3, maybe not as much as on the S3, but I think we should. And I think, whenever the Alpha 6700 comes out, we should expect better color depth on that device as well. What Sony understands is that they need to be in the APS-C market. They need to keep making devices in the APS-C market. And what they're willing to do is give you everything you need to take wonderful images on your APS-C camera, because they know that you're going to be tempted to go up, because the frame size is going to be better, because dynamic range is going to be better, because the ISO performance is going to be better, because you can get better low light, because you can get more resolution, because you can get better in-body stabilization. Whatever it is, full frame is still kind of an object of reverence among photographers, and Sony can afford to say, we're going to put great features in these middle end, if you will, these middle ground cameras. And I think that greater color depth will happen in Sony APS-C as well. I think the Micro Four Thirds segment is really starting to drive a lot more innovation in the market space between Olympus and Panasonic than I would really have expected. I think the D850 is taking some really big cues from the GH5 in terms of the 6K and the 4K capture. By down-resing, if you will, to 8 megapixels, the D850 can get 30 frames a second. That's a big deal. That's a 4K capture right there. So I think the 4/3 segment is really worth paying attention to. And if you're not a regular viewer of this channel for content around the Micro Four Thirds segment, I'd ask you to stick around and start paying attention to the content that I'm trying to make around that. And if you are a Micro Four Thirds user that is new to this channel, welcome. There's a whole bunch of stuff here that's not Four Thirds related, but I'm very much interested in making more, and I'm very much interested in engaging you about the devices that you care about and love and that make wonderful images and moments and memories for you. So hit me up in the comments. Let me know which of those camps you fall in. Thank you very much for your time and for your attention. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one.